Okay. So my last videos, I didn't think people were going to respond, but they did, and they responded in the most awesomest way ever. So, I don't know why I'm so loud. Anyways, okay, so I wanted to talk more about me me being bullied more. Okay, let's see. Okay. The bullying started for me when I was 6 years old. I'm trying to remember like the first thing that actually started, but it's all kind of like a blur. But I do remember this. I do remember that when I was 6 years old, my mom and dad got divorced. And that's not what contributed to anything, because I love the fact that they were divorced, dude. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it was just so awesome that I would have 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays, 2 Halloweens, just like 2 everything, 2 Easters. Like, wow. It was just awesome as a kid, And plus, like, not many kids are aware that their parents are most likely better off divorced. And I was lucky enough to know that they were better off separate. And I knew, like, my mom would be happier alone and my dad would be happier alone. So I was just like, 2 Christmases? What? Yeah! Okay. And, like, my dad, I remember he moved to Arizona when I was 8. But, like, during the 2 years, 6 and 7, when they were divorced, whatever, he was in California. So I was just like, this is awesome, because then I could go fly over there and, like, see California and see Arizona. But anyways, so, like, the divorce didn't contribute to anything. Anyways, me having the separation, though, and having my dad's side of the family and my mom's side of the family, I remember on my mom's side of the family, I felt as though pretty much, like, her side of the family disliked me. I felt like I was the black sheep, and I felt like on my dad's side of the family, like, they loved me, and I was accepted. And I don't know, man, being a kid and going through that, like, you always hear you're supposed to stick with your family, you know, blood is thicker than water, blah, blah. But when you're a kid and being 6 years old and having them, or having your mom compare you really to your cousins, it's like, well, I am my own person. Like, I'm not like them. You're right, I'm not. And I remember, for instance, one time, she's like, I don't know what I did, but I did something. But it wasn't to her liking. And she's like, well, why can't you be more like your cousin, your younger cousin? And, okay, let me explain what that means. Okay, so there's 3 of us that was born in 1992. And I am the middle of the 3. So when I say younger cousin, I'm referring to the one that was born a few months after me. So she's like, why can't you be more like her, And I'm like, what? Why can't I be more like her? Because I'm not her. I'm my own person. Like, what do you mean? And it was over the fact that, like, I was playing PlayStation instead of reading. And, like, I read books, okay? But the type of books that I was reading was, like, Goosebumps and, like, Mary-Kate and Ashley. Was the one about the little girl. Oh, gosh. Joan, I don't know. It started with a J. I forgot. But I was reading that. Then there was, like, there was this other book that was, like, a composition book. But it was, like, an actual substantial, like, kids book, whatever. I was reading that, and I don't know, man. Like, I was also into, like, a bunch of, like, poetry that they had for kids. So I was reading those type of books. My younger cousin, she would always read, like, American Girl and, things that had to do with, like, history and stuff like that, and I'm just over here, like, I'm into, like, mainstream things, like, I don't want to read that. Like, no, history's boring to me. I like science. And there was like some science books that I would read too, and there's also like National Geographic books. I would read those, but I was just like, we were totally different two people, and she would always compare me to her, and I'm just like, I can't be what you want. Like, if you, I remember I felt as though, like, if she liked her so much, why don't she take her as her kid? You know what I mean? And that was like, I remember that was like the start of it. And that was also the start, actually, of me having low self-esteem. So, like, also, with that happening, I remember my older cousins, actually, it was only two, because my family's huge. So, like, I had a bunch of older cousins, but there was only two out of the bunch that was really just kind of like, why are you acting like that? Like, why are you the way you are? And I'm just like, once again, like, I like what I like. I'm not like her. I'm not, this kid that just sits and reads history books and weather books and all this other stuff. I'm not that person. Oh gosh, it was just like feeling just left out, and I was always treated differently. For me, in my eyes, they favored her. And by doing that, like me, I felt outcasted very easily. I remember at dinners and stuff, they would mainly ask her, like, oh, what are you doing? What are you interested in? Blah, 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 And with me, they were just kind of like, oh. And I was just kind of always sitting there like, well, how come they don't ask me that? How come they aren't as interested in me as they are with her? And I don't know, man, like, being a kid and going through that, I was just kind of like, it hurt. And I'm just like, well, what's wrong with me? I started questioning myself. Like, is there something wrong with reading Goosebump books? Is there something wrong with just, liking Mary-Kate and Ashley? I don't know. Like, that was what would always go through my head when I was 6. Up and pretty much to the point I was, like, 10. So when I was 10, I remembered I just stopped caring pretty much of what my family was doing, on my mom's side at least. And I started focusing more on my dad's side because I felt more appreciated over there. So I would always call my aunt and my uncle on my dad's side, and just always on the phone with them because, they were 3,000 miles away. So talking to them, it was a relief because in my head it was like, at least someone cares. At least someone notices me, and just taking the time out their day to get to know me, to see if I'm okay. And at 10, I'm thinking this, so it's like already like, wow. I don't know, like, it's just crazy, dude, crazy. Then when I was 11, I had the whole religion thing happen, and that pretty much really took a turn with my family, because then they were just, well, my mom's side at least, because they were just kind of like, nah. And so I was just kind of like, well, I already feel this way, that you guys don't like me, and I feel like I'm the black sheep, so we're good. And, like, I remember thinking, like, I cannot wait until I graduate, because all I want to do is get away from them. I just want to move to the West Coast and be with my dad's side of the family. That's all I wanted. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that because my dad, I remember he was, with his line of work, he was always moving. And so it wouldn't have been like a stable school environment, life, whatever, like it would have been stable for school. So I wasn't able to go and live with him. So that was like out of the question, but it is something that I would always think about. But I remember, like, I couldn't, like, thinking, like, I couldn't wait until I graduated in order to get away from Maryland. Okay. During school is when all the bullying would go down. Pretty much, well, okay, majority of it. Because some of the bullying would happen after school as well. I remember I would always get picked on, and kids would tell me that I look like a man. They're like, oh, are you a tranny? And I'm just like, no, like, oh my God, like, what is that even? Because I didn't know what that was, like, back then. Like, I'm 11, you know? I don't know. Like, I know of homosexuality, and I know that, you know, we should accept them and be nice to them, you know? But I didn't fully, like, you know all the terminologies for them. And I'm just like, what? No. Like, and then I remember this one kid explained to me, like, what it was, and I was just like, oh, no, I'm not, no, why would you think that? And they're like, oh, because you look like a man. I'm like, that's not very nice, you know? I would always try and stick to the friends that I did have, which was only 2 main people back then, and I would always try and sit with them, but of course we weren't in all the same classes together. When you're little, you want to go sit with your other friends too, so like they would sometimes go and sit with their other friends, and I'll just be sitting there by myself. I'm just kind of like, I don't have anyone else to talk to because no one else likes me. I would never forget this one time I had a crush on this guy, and he was like a handsome little white boy, and I didn't think that I would ever experience racism at that age, but I did. We were standing in line getting ready to go back into the classroom from recess or lunch or something like that. And he was standing in front of me, and then my best friend was like in front of him. So I was like, hey, like, I think you're really handsome. And he just completely, like, froze. And he was like, I don't date black girls. And I was like, okay, like, we're young, like, I'm not asking to date you. I'm just telling you that, you know, you're cute. I don't know. And my best friend that was standing in front of him, she turns around and she's like, that is so not nice. I'm telling on you, blah, blah, blah. So I remember she tells the teacher, and the teacher is just like, okay, well, I'll handle it later. Of course, I never got handled. And I was just pretty much just like, oh my God, did that just happen? Wow. Okay. Okay. Jesus. Jumping into when I was 12 in middle school, 6th grade. Oh boy. Okay. This was like the year before I thought it was like the end of the world. So when I was 12 in 6th grade, I had my goth phase. I remember, dude, I would wear like the huge elephant pant leg pants that had the chains and the ropes on it, and I had nothing but like black eyeshadow, black nail polish, black eyeliner. I was listening to Slipknot, System of a Down, Lamb of God, all the good stuff, you know, like that was that. And I remember people were like making fun of me for it. They're like, you're black, you're not supposed to be like that. And I'm like whatever, you know, like I like what I like. I remember like they were still like trying to call me a man, saying that I'm so ugly, like why am I even here? Just like a bunch of mean people, and oh gosh. At first, it was starting to really tear me down, but the music actually really helped me. And it helped me up until 7th grade, where shit hit the fan. And I became emo. And I was dressing different. I fixed my hair the emo style, you know, the comb over. The clothes that I wear, I, you know, wore emo clothing. I was all about, you know, hiding my cuts because they were so visible. I started cutting when I was 11, in case you didn't watch my last video. Oh gosh, the cuts. They were there. You could see them, and I was so embarrassed. So I remember I always wore this red hoodie, and people will always be like, it's like 90 degrees outside, why are you wearing a hoodie? And I'm like, oh, you know, I get cold easily. I would always tell them, like, I'm cold or whatever. The whole time I wasn't. Like, I had freaking cuts, like, out the ass, down my arm and shit. So I would always have on my hoodie, and I wore it, like, every day. I would, you know, take it home and wash it, of course, like, so it's clean. But I would always wear it. I had other hoodies, too, but the reason why I didn't wear those as much is because they will always rise up on my arms, and so I had cuts, like, all down my arms so you could see it still. And I'm just like, oh no, like, I don't want anyone to see this, so let me get the red one that, you know, covers everything up, and I don't have to worry about the sleeves rising up or whatever. So I would always wear that, and because I always wore that, I had people always, you know, making fun of me for that. Like, you wear the same hoodie every day, it's not washed, it's not clean, I could smell you, blah, blah, blah. You couldn't smell me because I would go home and wash it every day. Like, no, you couldn't smell me. And not only that, like, I wouldn't just wear the hoodie. I would actually wear 2 shirts underneath, a long sleeve, just in case the hoodie did rise up. Even though it wouldn't, I was still paranoid, so I would wear a long sleeve under it. And I would also wear a short sleeve shirt over top of it, plus the hoodie. So I had 3 layers on. Like, I know you can't smell me, and I know I don't stink because, like, I shower, I wash my clothes, like, whatever. Stop being mean. Anyways, so there was that. I remember some people have seen the cuts on my arm. They were talking about that. So that was, like, another thing. And then also, you're in middle school, so you're at that weird stage where you're not a kid anymore, but you're not in high school. You know what you like. So you're not fully experienced, but people talk a lot. And what I mean by that is kids start saying sexual things, start talking about, like, they done this, they done that. And what did I want to do but nothing but fit in? I wanted to fit in. I wanted people to like me. I didn't want to feel the way I felt anymore. So what did I do? The stupidest thing ever. I will never forget, we all were at, you know, lunch period. And I can't even remember who it was exactly that was sitting next to me, but I guess it doesn't matter because I'm not going to say their name in this video anyways. Anyways, there was a guy on the side, one of my best friends on this side, and, like, a few of our other friends in front. And, of course, like, they were talking amongst themselves about things that they had done sexually. And I decided to make up a story so I could fit in. Why did I do that? I overhear their story. They're done their story. And I was like, I did something. And they're all, what'd you do? And I'm just like, I had sex. I had sex in a closet. Like, the whole time I'm lying, but, like, I just wanted to fit in, and it was the stupidest thing I could do, man. Oh my god. So, like, I tell them that, you know, and they're all, what? Like, in a closet? Like, what do you mean? And I'm like, of course, like, I never even let alone kiss the boy at this point. So I don't even know, like, what to say, like, I did. So I'm like, we made out in the closet and had sex. And they're like, and I'm like, and that's it. You know? Like, what else am I gonna say? And I remember, oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. I remember the boy that was sitting right here, he's like, so it was just on a hard floor. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, no pillows, no nothing. And I was just like, yeah. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know nothing about sex. Like, I never even watched, like, a porno at this age. Like, I don't know. Gosh. So after that, like, everyone's just like, whoa, like, I don't know, you know. But although I was accepted in that moment, shit hit the fan. So after that, I remember there was gossip and whispers in the hallways, but it like quickly faded out over a period of like 3 months, and I was no longer like the girl to talk about. I remember there's actually another girl who honestly did lose her virginity, and she decided to tell everyone about it, and everyone was on her. So the attention wasn't on me anymore. So I was just kind of like, never do that again, you know, until the very bad thing happened to me that no one should experience, because I know in my other video I said no female, but really, honestly, it's pretty much everyone who shouldn't go through this. I'm even debating if I want to talk about this, but it is a part of the story as to why I tried to commit suicide when I was 13, and then how everything pretty much spiraled. So I have to include it. So, give me a minute. I had a best friend who was from 2nd grade pretty much up until this point in 7th grade. Like I said, I'm not going to mention any names, but she was my best friend during this point. And of course, you know, I accumulated a little bit of friends that wasn't just her. So we would all, you know, go outside and play. Or at least just like walk around and talk, because we were like at this point 13. So there was no playing outside. Like, we were just walking around talking, you know, doing girl stuff, doing each other's nails or whatever, talking about music. So we weren't actually like playing outside. But anyways, another girl that I was friends with, so there's 2 girls that I'm going to be talking about. Girl 1 and girl 2, I'll refer to them as that. Girl 1 is the girl that was my best friend since I was in 2nd grade up until this point. Girl 2, I was friends with her. I like became friends with her in, I believe, 6th grade or something. The 2 of them knew each other, but they weren't, you know, tight. So girl 1, she actually wasn't there when this happened. She was supposed to come outside, but she went back inside because her mom told her to go back inside. So then I was just hanging out with girl 2. And girl 2, she had a boyfriend. And this boyfriend she broke up with maybe a week before this incident happened. And I remember we were all standing out there where the bus normally picks us up. But it was after school hours, so we were just standing like on that bus stop area. We were standing there talking, you know, and then girl 2 ex-boyfriend had walked up, and he's like, can I talk to you? And of course girl 2 was just kind of like, oh, no, and she starts walking away. So she starts walking away, and he's just like standing there, and he's like, man, like, I love you, like, what am I supposed to do? I just want to make it up to you, I just want to be with you. And I'm standing there, like, witnessing all this, and I'm just like, oh, like, he feels bad, you know? Like, I don't know, just give him the time of day and talk to him. Like, I don't know. Like, I never had a boyfriend still, so I don't know what it feels like, but I know I wouldn't want to be standing there in his position. So I was trying to be nice, and I was like, so what's wrong? And he's like, well, I'm just so in love with her, you know, and I just want to be able to basically win her back. And I was like, oh, yeah. So I go over and I talk to girl 2. And I was like, hey, like, why don't you talk to him and try to work things out? You know, I don't know what happened, but just, I don't know, just talk to him. And she's like, no, like, F that bastard, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, he must have did something serious, you know? And then I was like, hey, like, you must have done something, like, real serious to her. Like, what happened? Well, he's getting ready to tell me, but then he sees, like, all of our other friends standing right there. So he's kind of like, I'm going to talk about it, but, you know, not with them. So I was like, okay. So, like, I look at them, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to go talk to him for a second. There was, like, this huge, like, apple tree right there. So I walked over to the apple tree, and I was like, hey, come on, let's talk. So I'm getting ready to sit down in the grass to talk to him. And that's when, of course, all my female friends that was standing right there have followed. And they're like, no, you're not going to talk to him alone. No, because we know what he did. And I was like, okay, I don't know what he did, so all right, like, I'll listen to you, like, whatever. And then I remember, like, girl 2 ex-boyfriend was just kind of like, all I want to do is talk to her about what happened and maybe she can help solve. And they're all like, no, like, there's not going to be resolving anything. No, like, get away from her, blah, blah. They were just, like, so mean to this guy, you know? And I'm just, like, sitting up here feeling, like, really bad. So it was my dumb idea to go inside of the apartment, like, complex, the building itself. Not into his apartment, but just, like, the building hallway. I remember we go in there, and he's, like, getting ready to tell me the story, but then my friends come, and I was like, hey, guys, like, come on, like, seriously, like, just give us a second so he could tell me what's wrong, and maybe I could help resolve the whole thing, and they could be together, you know, like a happy ending, blah, blah, blah. No. So, anyways, they're like, fine, like, you just go talk to him, but we told you so, there's no reason to talk to him, you know, and honestly, I should have listened to them, because I did not think what happened next was going to happen. Although they said okay, they still didn't leave us alone. So I remember, like, 3 of them had came inside the apartment complex, and he's like, man, like, come on. He's like gesturing me to come inside the apartment, and I was like, oh, well, no, like, I don't want to go inside, that's okay, we could talk about it another time. He's like, no, like, I want to talk about this now because I want to make her my girlfriend again. And I was just like, all right. And although I had the gut feeling that something bad was going to happen, I did not listen to that feeling. I ended up going inside, and I remember there was a guy sitting on a couch. There was probably, like, 4 guys in, like, the back, like, rooms. And I knew that they were there because the doors were open so I could see them. And then there was, like, a room that was over here. And he said that was his room. He's like, come on, like, we could talk in here. And I was like, okay, like, I was still having a gut feeling, but I still went inside anyways, because, I don't know, like, not necessarily I didn't think that rape could happen to me, but I just thought that it wouldn't be from someone that I know. So anyways, getting back to the story, I went inside the room, and I was like, oh, okay, so let's just hurry this up along, because I can't keep them waiting. What's going on? Like, what did you do to her? And I remember he sat down on a bed, and he's just, like, leaning back. I can't lean back in the shit because I'm on my phone. But he's, like, leaning back, and he's just like, you're so pretty. And I was just standing there like, so you cheated on her with, like, one of her friends? Oh, God, like, was it one of our friends outside? And he's like, no, I just wanted to get you alone so I could talk to you. And I was just like, oh, like, I remember I wasn't hyperventilating yet, but I was getting ready to. So, like, I felt, like, that drop feeling that you get when you're about to hyperventilate. I felt that drop in your stomach, and I'm trying to take a deep breath because I'm trying to prevent it from happening, because I'm thinking, like, I have to keep calm. I have to figure out a way out, because I now have put myself in this position. So after that, I was just kind of like, oh, well, I don't think so. I don't think I'm pretty. Thank you. And I'm getting ready to open up the door. He grabs my arm, and he's like, no, you can't leave yet. And I was like, oh, I really have to go. Like, my mom is probably looking for me. I gotta go. And he's like, no, she's not looking for you. And plus, like, your friends are outside. They'll tell her, you know, that you're in here. And it'll be okay. And he tells me to hold on. But I knew he was still right there at the door because, you know, there's a crack on the door and you can still see, like, people's feet. So I knew he was still standing right there because I could see his shadow. And I don't know. I couldn't make out what he was saying because my head started to get foggy because I was getting ready to hyperventilate. And next thing I know, him and another guy came in the room. And he's like, so yeah, this is the one right here, blah, blah, blah. I'll be back. And he leaves out. He leaves out. And I remember the other guy's like, yeah, so I messed up and said her name. Oh my God, okay. Blur that out. Anyways, I remember girl 2, ex-boyfriend, then left out the room. And the guy that was then, sorry, that was my dog. The guy that was then in the room, he's like, what did he say? Oh, he's like, yeah, so, you know, Yo was telling me that, you know, his ex-girlfriend, homegirl. And I was like, at this point, I couldn't talk. But I didn't want to show that, like, I was getting ready to hyperventilate still. So I'm, like, trying to hold it in, you know. And he's like, yeah, so have you ever done anything before? And I was like, what? And he's like, you know, like, sexual-wise, have you done anything before? And I was like, no, I really have to go. Gosh. I remember he gets up from the bed and he grabs me, pins me down, and of course he proceeds. After that, I remember I got up and I immediately started crying and hyperventilating. I left out the apartment, and the other people that were inside the apartment, the guy who was sitting on the couch, the guys that were in the back, they all looked at me. And I remember I ran out the house at that point when they all looked at me because I didn't know if they were going to come after me as well. I ran out the house, well, the apartment, and I remember my friends all rushing up to me saying, hey, you were in there for a long time. We were worried about you. Your mom's and your brother is looking for you. We're like, what happened? And I remember I was just like hyperventilating in tears. And girl 2, she grabs me, pulls me to the side. You need to tell me what the fuck happened. And I remember I was like, I can't. Oh my God, I can't believe this happened to me, blah, blah. And as I turn, I see my mom and my brother like pulling up. And I'm so scared at this point that I just completely like wipe my tears. And I don't know, like I just shut down, like shoot. Stopped crying, stopped hyperventilating, just blank. And I remember I walked down to the car, I got in the car, and my mom and my brother, they were like, where the hell were you? Your friends couldn't even find you. They didn't even know where you were. Where did you go? Why were you gone for so long? We gotta go. But like they were pissed. And I remember I just sat there. And for perhaps a week I didn't say anything. But then my brother's best friend, who was a female, she came over. And I remember she's like, you seem different. What's up? You know? And I'm just like, yeah. She's like, what's wrong? You're normally not like this. What's going on? And I was like, well, I do want to talk to you, but... And I turned to my brother and I'm like, not with you. And she's like, oh, girl stuff? And I'm like, yeah. So I remember we left out the house and we were in a parking lot. And she's like, okay, so what's up? What's going on? You know, and we sat down on a step and I told her everything. As we're talking, my school bullies are walking by, and I didn't want them to hear anything. I didn't even want them to see me because they would always torture me in the hallways, of course. So I was just kind of like talking to her, you know, like blah, blah, blah. And then they're walking past and I noticed them walking. So I'm just like, and I get quiet. I get so quiet. And she like noticed like the change in me. So she's just like, do they bully you? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, okay, well, we could wait till they go by. So we wait till they go past, and then I proceed to tell her. And after she finds out the information, she's just kind of like, oh shit, like, do I go and beat these motherfuckers up that did this to her, or should I get the police involved? Of course, you know, she didn't go and beat them up, although she wanted to. She was like furious, you know. I remember she told my brother, and my brother told my mom, and my mom called the police. Giving that report to the police is so embarrassing because you don't want anyone to judge you. You feel violated, vulnerable, just everything under the sun, and you don't even know them. So to tell them, like, it's scary. Oh my God. So after telling the cops everything, I remember it was like that. Like me telling the cops was on like a Friday, and the next day on Saturday, girl one shows up and she's able to come outside. Girl one, I tell her everything that happened because she's been my best friend since 2nd grade. So of course I felt comfortable telling her. So I told her everything that happened, you know, and she's like empathizing. She's like, I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. I'm sorry I wasn't there. And I'm like, if I was there, I would have, you know, grabbed you and told you not to go in. And I was like, well, you know, girl 2 and such else told me not to go in as well. So I do feel it's like partially my fault, but at the same time, he shouldn't have done that to me. And she's just like, you know what, like, no, don't you dare feel like it's your fault, blah, blah. She's, like, really empathizing to me. So I'm thinking, you know, like, she's my best friend. She's still going to love me. Everything's going to be fine. Like, we're just going to be best friends after this. Nope. Oh, my God. The worst thing I could do. By the time Monday rolled around and it was school, I remember I was just sitting there in first period, and I noticed a couple people just like turning around looking at me, and I was just kind of like, what, you know? But then of course, you know, as 2nd period, 3rd period, and such went on, I started to get more people turning around and looking at me and whispering and stuff like that. And so I'm just kind of like, why is this happening? You know, like I'm more on alert now. And I remember by the end of the school day, the bell rang and we're all like getting ready to get loaded on our buses. And then next thing you know, like we're getting ready to get loaded on our buses, but also like the way the middle school was set up, like they would call your bus name and then you would just go over to that bus line to get on the bus. So they already called the bus number and we're getting ready to go to that line so we can get on the bus. As I'm walking to the line, oh dear, there was 3 people that ran up to me and was like, hey, I heard what happened. You let a train happen to you? And I was like, what? And I remember girl 1 was in the background and she's like laughing. And I was like, what are you talking about, a train? And I don't know like sexual terms, so like train, I'm like, what the hell? Like, are you talking about like an actual train like hitting me? Like, what are you talking about, you know? So I'm like, what are you talking about? And I remember the girl and the guy who came up to me, the 2 people that I didn't know, they were like, girl, you nasty. You're real fucking nasty. Wow. And I was like, what? And me seeing girl 1 laughing in the background, I go up to her and I'm like, dude, like, what are they talking about? And they're like, I told them what happened to you. I told them that you let a train, like, guys run a train on you. And I was like, what does that even mean? Is that, like, another term for, like, rape? And she's like, oh my God, you have some learning to do. And I'm just like, what? And I'm just like, why would you even tell them that happened to me? That's so personal. And she just walks away. Didn't care. Empathy was out the window. Her being my best friend, out the window. Everything just thrown away within minutes. Or I guess throughout the whole day, because it started in first period with some people turning around looking at me. And news travel fast, okay? Oh my God. I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Easy A, but Emma Stone depicts so well of how lies and rumors travel fast, okay? I'll insert that clip here.
Brings us to part 2. The accelerated velocity of terminological inexactitude, which is really just my obnoxious way of saying that lies travel fast. And boy, did my terminological inexactitude accelerate with velocity. Here,
Yeah, that's basically exactly how I felt. It traveled fast, okay? I pretty much the whole damn school knew. The whole freaking school knew. Oh my God. I remember I got on the bus, went home, and that day I actually had a kid on the bus who wasn't supposed to be on our bus, but I guess he lived close by, that he knew that he could walk home even if he took our bus. So he took our bus only for one reason, and that was to follow me home. He tried to follow me home because he thought I was gonna sleep with him. And I remember being so scared because I just had this horrible thing happen to me. I didn't want to happen to me again because this idiot done told the whole school. And I remember, like, he tried to follow me home, but luckily one of my brothers was actually right there. And when I called for him, the kid was like, oh shit, and he ran the other way. And I just couldn't believe, like, someone would actually, you know, take it that far, you know, and believe these lies and try to follow me home. That was scary. Whew. When I got in the house, I remember I didn't even complete my homework. Homework was out of the question. I didn't do any homework. I just sat there and cried for hours, listening to, you know, Slipknot, Korn, and I tried to clear my head. I couldn't. I just couldn't. So the next day in school, pretty much that whole remainder of the year was horrible. I had guys and girls touching me inappropriately. I had them following me into the bathroom. So I stopped using the school bathrooms for a period of time. I remember I didn't want to take the school bus home, so for a while I had my brother and my mom come and pick me up and take me home. I remember I started cutting more. I tried to commit suicide as well, which I talked about in my other video. But the main thing that really hit me hard and really, I don't want to say demolished, but pretty much really hurt me, was the fact that I had a teacher, actually 2 teachers, come up and ask me. Let's talk about that. In math class, we had like a assistant teacher, and I remember it was just right before math class had started. the bell didn't ring yet, but we were like walking to class getting there. And she was behind me. And she's like, oh, hey, Tiffany. And she, you know, pulls me around. And she's like, I wanted to talk to you about something because I was actually walking to another class earlier and I heard some girls talk about you. Did you have multiple sex partners this past weekend? And I was just like, did a teacher really just ask me this? When there's like 50 other kids in the goddamn hallway, did she really ask me this? So I remember my face turned red. Oh gosh. I remember my eyes watered because I was getting ready to cry because like that's embarrassing. Like, it's one thing to have, you know, students do that to you, but for a teacher to ask you right in the open, that was just like the last straw. And I remember I was standing there and I didn't say anything because I was just like choked up and surprised that a teacher asked me that. And when I didn't say anything back, I guess she felt as though that it meant like it was true. So then she proceeds and she tells me, you know, you can go to the guidance counselor. They have pamphlets on sexual activity, being sexually active, and you can go and talk to the guidance counselor. Like, it's okay, but I just don't want anything to happen to you. And I'm like, oh my God, like this whole thing is blown so much more than what I thought it was going to be. Like, I can't even believe, like, she spun my story around. I can't believe, you know, girl one had even told people, like, oh my God, this is so bad. So, I remember in our school we had, like, stairwells, but, like, the bell was getting to ring. So I waited for the bell to ring. And I remember I bolted to the stairwell. And I remember I went behind the stairs. And the halls were, like, deserted. So it was perfect. And I just sat behind the stairwell and just cried. I knew I couldn't leave school because I was already there. They already seen my face, you know. I just cried. Excuse me. I burped. I just cried. And I remember when the period was over, I went back, got my books, and I went home. Like, I didn't even care if the last period was being, you know, skipped. I went home, and there was actually a cemetery that was across the street from our middle school. I remember I went over to the cemetery, and I just sat down in the graveyard, and I was just talking to the spirits, and I was just like, you know, you're going to have someone join you, because I can't take this. I can't believe this just happened. And you know what? I'm just going to do it. I don't care. I don't care who it affects. Like, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to join you, and I'll probably be buried right here in the cemetery with you guys. So, see you later. And I remember I just went home, and, you know, I proceeded to commit suicide. So, all of that happened in 7th grade. Girl one, she was always a grade higher than me, and she's older than me, so she was already into high school when I was in 8th grade. In 8th grade, because, you know, everyone knew and they haven't forgotten, when 8th grade started, my first day, what did I get? People talking about me, calling me a slut, pretty much, you know, a skank, a whore, all the names in the book that you could possibly think of. They were calling me that. And I remember one teacher, he was a new teacher, I'd never even seen him before. He commented on my shirt. The shirt that I was wearing, it said Combat Baby. And I remember it had like an imprint of dog tags on it. And just like other little military like stuff on it, you know. And he goes, I think that shirt is inappropriate. I wouldn't let my 13-year-old daughter wear that. And I was like, it's like military stuff. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I don't know. I'm just saying, every other kid in here is dressed appropriately. Like, maybe your mom should recheck that outfit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, great. I had an okay summer. Like, I was finally, feeling somewhat comfortable. And this happens on my first day. Great. So, I remember all the feelings rushed back, and I started cutting again. Throughout the whole remaining of the school year, of course, there were still people talking, still people trying to grope me and stuff. No one was following me home anymore, so I guess that was good. But no one really wanted to be friends with me. I remember girls who used to be my friend did not want to associate with me. Their parents thought that I was horrible. And I actually had one friend who lived across the street from me. I'm not going to say his name, but he lived across the street from me. Him and his sister were super nice to me, man. And I remember I made friends with them. But unfortunately, what happened, the whole case was opened. So what happened to me in the 7th grade, they finally started the report on it. And I remember they were slowly, like, pulling up other kids, questioning them and stuff like that, like, what happened, this and that and the third. And of course these kids lied on me, saying, like, I'm always hanging out with guys and that I'm always walking home with guys, blah, blah, blah. And the kid across the street, unfortunately, he was then pulled into it. And they questioned him and his parents. And I remember his parents was just like, you cannot hang out with her anymore. We don't know what's going on, but you can't hang out with her anymore. If she says hi to you, just say hi and keep it moving. You can't even be friends with her anymore. And when he came and told me that, I was just, like, devastated. Because, like, him and his sister was, like, my only friends. And to have that being taken away from me, too, I was just kind of like, I really am alone. Like, no one believes me. Everyone believed these lies that people had spreaded about me. I don't know. Like, I was just lonely for a while, Little did I know they were doing investigations. Like, they had a private investigator come and take pictures of me and stuff like that. So they saw, like, me walking and talking to my friend across the street. And, of course, what did they think? Oh, everything that people are saying is true. She's always around this one kid that's across the street. You know what? We're not going to even proceed with this case. So I remembered the whole case shut down. And I never got justice for it. Do I want to get justice for it now? No. Because it's been so many years since that happened. I have made peace with it. Do I forgive the person who raped me? I don't know. One point I do, because, I made somewhat of a peace with it. But then the other portion of me is just like, that's not okay that you did that. It's really not. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm conflicted with it. Do I think about it all the time? No. Is it something that I have pushed down and put away in storage within my feelings and emotions and stuff? No. Like, it's still there. It doesn't bother me on, a daily basis, but it's still there. It's a part of me. It happened to me. I'm okay talking about it. Obviously, I'm putting this video up. So, I don't know. Like, I made some sort of peace with it, but revenge and everything else, I don't feel. I did for a while. I was angry. But I was able to get over that anger as well. I just want to add, too, there is no type of discrimination when it comes to rapists. It doesn't matter if you're black, Hispanic, whatever, Asian. It doesn't matter, okay? And it doesn't matter how you dress. It does a little bit, but not really. Not really. Because you could be nice, proper, cover everything up, And they don't care. They like that. They like submissive women, you know, so you could still get raped. You could dress provocative and show everything else, you know, boom. And it will still happen to you. So there's no discrimination. There's no, oh, it doesn't happen to black women. Never. No, there's none of that. They don't discriminate. Just know that. So that was pretty much everything that happened in middle school. But, of course, things follow you. So I never forget, oh my god, dude, 9th grade homeroom, freshman year actually, of high school. One of the guys that was in my middle school, I didn't even know that he was going to my high school. I mean, there's not really much for me to know anyways because I wasn't friends with him. But anyways, I would never forget he was sitting in front of me in homeroom, and he turns around and he's like, "Oh, you're you're here. You're in my homeroom." And I'm like, "What do you mean I'm here?" And he's like, "Nothing, you know, forget it. Hey, you know, in middle school, when you told everyone that, you know, you had sex in the closet, was that true? Because I actually heard some other things." And I was like, oh, God. Like, fuck me. Why did I make up that stupid rumor? And then to have what happened to me in 7th grade, like, FML. Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening, you know. And I wanted to just, like, shrink down in my chair, you know. And he was so loud, dude. And I'm pretty sure, like, all the other kids in the classroom heard everything. I'm pretty sure, like, 20 other kids heard it. So I'm just like, once again, I feel my face get red. And I'm just like, no, I just said it so I could fit in. And he's like, are you sure? Because it was pretty, like, elaborate. And I'm like, no, it wasn't true. And he's like, okay. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, if you don't believe what I'm telling you, then why ask me? Why even bother me? You know? Oh, God, like, that really just, like, pissed me off. And it just made me feel everything that I felt before, all the emotions, all the thoughts came back once again. And what did I do when I went home? I started cutting again. So that was the start of my freshman year. And it pretty much was on that level for the remainder of 9th grade, 10th, and 11th grade. Senior year, it got a little bit better. Only because I knew when that last day hit, I was out of there. I didn't have to see any of those people again. And I was just, like, going to be so relieved, you know? Like, oh, my God, I'm done with this hellhole. Like, ugh, it's over with. I don't have to, you know, deal with any of this, you know? So all I kept thinking about was that last day. But before I could get there, of course, you know, I had to actually deal with the school year. I remember I made new friends. And one of the friends that I had made was actually a friend from 1st grade who I used to always play in the sandbox with, you know. And he had a crush on me all the way up until this point. I never knew because he never said anything. And I don't know if he heard what happened in 7th grade or if he did hear, but he just didn't care. But it seemed like he didn't, I don't want to say didn't mind it because I don't know if he knew, but it just seems like he was just like this other, like, realm from this hellhole, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. Having him as a friend and having the other people that I had made as new friends, it was relieving because it made the school, the remainder of that school year better. Until, oh God, when he finally did come out and ask me on a date, it was like maybe 4 or 5 months shy of like a month before graduation or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember. It was something like that. Anyways, we go on this awesome, funny date because it was like so awkward, you know. And I don't know, like he's awkward, I'm awkward, so it was an awkward date, you know. It was fine, like it was okay. It was just awkward, you know. And I remember the next day in school, his cousin. Lord, his cousin. Oh my God. Oh God. Whew. Alright, so I'm getting ready to go to, I think it was like 6th period or something. And I stopped to talk to 2 of my other friends in the hallway. And his cousin comes up to me. I heard that you got used. And I was like, bitch, I'm so sick of this. I don't know what it was, but like something enraged me, okay? I remember I took off my backpack, threw it on the floor up against the lockers, and I stepped in her face and I was like, look, I'm sick of this shit. None of that shit you heard was true. And if you do believe it, fight me right now. Fuck it. And oh my God, dude, like I remember my 2 friends, they're like, no, you can't fight her. You just went on a date with this guy. Like, how does that look like dating him? And then you beat up his cousin. And what are Thanksgivings and shit is gonna be like, you know? And I'm like, no, I'm about to fuck her up. Like, ugh, like I'm so sick of this. Like I'm tired of it. I've dealt with this since 13 years old. Like, fuck this shit. And I remember I went off in the hallway. I went off so bad that, like, I guess I scared his cousin. Because I remember she was just kind of like, whoa. And she just turned around and she was like, never mind. And I'm just, like, flipping out and I'm punching the lockers, you know. I'm crying and I'm just feeling, like, all these emotions. Because all this time I'm, you know, penting it up. I'm releasing it on myself. And I never once did I showed anger. It was always sadness and depression. So for me to finally, you know, show anger and getting ready to get into a fight, it scared me a little. I remember teachers came out in the hallway and they're like, what's going on, blah, blah, you need to take a walk. So I remember I took a walk, came back, had, you know, my 6th period or whatever, 7th period, whatever it was, and I felt fine. I felt fine afterwards, and I would realize, you know, like, maybe I shouldn't be taking my anger out on others. Not only that, I shouldn't be, you know, holding it in. So I remember that's when I started doing the spells and letting karma get these bitches. And that's when I got into the story that I explained into my last video of when I was dating that guy and we, you know, put the spells on other people. If you go watch that video, it's like at the last like 13 minutes of the video that I talk about that. But that's when that happened. Oh my God. Anyways, after everything, you know, I graduated. I'm here now. I don't want revenge on anybody. Like I said in my last video, I meditate a lot. So on that note, with telling you about my whole stories of being bullied and what happened throughout school and stuff, anyone who's watching this and still in school or not in school and you're being bullied, please know that you're not alone, okay? Please know that, because I felt so freaking alone. And I just remember, you know, I would always inflict self-harm and try to, you know, commit suicide. I want you guys to know that's not the answer. Please know that. Please, 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 please know that there's always someone there. I would always go and talk to my school guidance counselors. Or at least I tried to, and, you know, I tried talking to a therapist, you know, or even if it's, like, your best friend, like, parent or something, just someone, talk to them, you know. Do whatever makes you happy. If it's an animal that makes you happy and give you some sort of sanctuary to be around them, go volunteer at, like, you know, your humane society or something. I don't know, just something. So that way you are not alone and you're not having these thoughts in private. That's the last thing that you would want, is to sit there and have these thoughts. It's not good.